Howdy, folks. I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. Our first letter is titled, Am I the jerk for leaving my in law's house with my daughter after she told me that she was feeling uncomfortable? And this one does involve a facial scar and bullying, I believe. So, I'm a 37-year-old male, and I've been with my fiance, a 37-year-old female, for 2 years, and we're getting married soon. I've only met her family a couple of times. My daughter Judy is a 16-year-old female, and she has never met them till very recently, where they hosted a dinner to celebrate the 4th of July, and that's where they met her for the first time. Judy has a visible burn scar on her forehead. It was due to an accident that she had when she was 9. She used to be incredibly insecure about it, to the point where I was forced to homeschool her, and it was hard trying to deal with and navigate through this rough time. Now she's doing a lot better, though some comments can really cause her to become stressed out and anxious. My fiance knows this and respects it. Before we went to her parents' house, I asked her to please tell them about Judy and her struggle and get them to try to not say anything negative or anything about it at all. She said that she would guarantee that no one would say anything. We got to the event and they talked to Judy and she slowly warmed up to them. Everything was going well until it was dinner time. My future mother in law looked at Judy while she was eating and pointed at her scar, basically asking questions about it, which made Judy really lose her appetite and start to get uncomfortable. I kept sending my fiance and her mom signs to knock it off, but no avail. Finally, future mother in law then brought up the wedding and asked my fiance if it would be possible to Photoshop the scar out of any wedding photos that will have Judy in them, just in case they distract viewers. I was dumbfounded. Fiance said nothing and just started casually nodding. I looked at Judy and it was clear that this had gotten to her. I leaned in close and asked her if she was feeling uncomfortable and that we could leave if the answer was yes. She took her time and then nodded and said, Yes, I'm feeling uncomfortable right now. I got up and I told her to get ready because we were leaving. My fiance and mom and the family started insisting that we finish our dinner and stay, but I refused. I took Judy and got in the car and left before even talking to my fiance. Obviously, she was mad. She called and was angry, talking about how I disrespected her parents by taking Judy and leaving in the middle of dinner and not even saying goodbye. I told her that Judy was feeling uncomfortable with future mother in law's comments and questions. She said that Judy overreacted and is in need to go back to therapy if a simple mention of her scar caused her to react this way. I got tired of arguing and asked her to give us some time, but she went on and said that I have no respect for her and her family and that what I did was irrational, and now she won't speak to me till I clear things up with her family after ruining their celebratory dinner. Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk and don't marry her.
Yeah, OP, why this she clearly made a promise to you and you thought that she was going to keep this promise and commitment, and she went ahead and just like trampled it. If it was just a simple mention of her scar, it would be one thing, but she also promised that no one would even mention the scar. She said, "Oh yeah, don't worry, people won't even talk about the scar. People won't even mention the scar." And what do? You walk in there and they start talking and mentioning about the scar. Like, of course, she's going to be uncomfortable. She's a teen. She's got a lot of trauma around this, and she was going to be uncomfortable. And the fact that you actually did a really good thing here, OP. You stood up for her, you defended her, and you made it clear that this wasn't going to be tolerated. So I would wait for them to apologize to you because that's what's really needed here. You do not need to apologize to them. Anyhow, take care and good luck. In Colorado Grown 85 says, OOP, your fiance has shown her true colors. She doesn't in fact care about your daughter. If she did, then she would have realized that your future mother-in-law suggestion of you photoshopping out the scar so it doesn't distract is really insulting. If I were you, I would rethink the wedding and that family. They owe you and Judy an apology and not the other way around, not the jerk. And OP says, Thank you for what you pointed out. I'm absolutely aware of this. Alright, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for throwing away food that my wife put in my freezer and then putting a padlock on it? I'm a 39-year-old male and I've been married to my wife, a 32-year-old female, for 4 years. We usually get along just fine. One of the issues that we've had since our relationship began has been about our freezer. Simply put it, my wife stuffs the freezer full of food constantly. There is absolutely zero space in there for me to put anything in there. At first, I tried to solve this by buying the fridge with the biggest freezer that we could find, and I dropped nearly $4,000 on it. She interpreted this as an invitation to buy even more frozen food so she could play the microwave dinner Tetris with the freezer. Every single nook and cranny is stuffed full. She buys frozen foods and somehow finds a way to fit them in there. The worst part is when I buy frozen food or freeze something for meal prep. She asks me at least 3 or 4 times a day when I'm going to take it out of the freezer. She essentially nags me until I remove the food from the freezer so she can put something that she won't be even touching for 6 months in its place. Well, last weekend I finally snapped and I bought an inexpensive single door deep freezer. I put it in the basement near the washer dryer and a couple of my own things in there, mostly some frozen veggies and a few burritos. I didn't really mention it to my wife because she wasn't home when I bought it. When my wife got home later in the day, she went downstairs to do some laundry and discovered my freezer. She excitedly ran upstairs to tell me that the upstairs one is full and she can actually fit more food in there now. I responded that under no circumstances is she to touch the freezer because it's mine. Not a single ice cube should be put in there. Then I told her not even to ask because I knew that she would mention it 3 to 4 times a day that she needs more freezer room. She sulked and tried to debate the issue, but I was able to placate her. A couple of days later, I went down to the basement to get something from my freezer, and I found it 70% full of microwave dinners. Upon checking the freezer in the kitchen, I found that it too was still completely full. I calmly went downstairs with a large garbage bag and threw everything into it, and then tossed it into our trash bin. Then I found a padlock I had lying around and locked it with a chain. Later that day, my wife brought in even more frozen food to put into the new freezer. But when she got downstairs, she noticed the lock and flipped her lid. She told me that I was being controlling when I told her that there's no way she will even use that freezer again. She threw something like a tantrum and left for her mom's house. She came back later that day and told me that I had 24 hours to unlock the freezer. Nothing really happened after those 24 hours, but now she's completely ignoring everything I say. I think my actions were justifiable, but was I in the wrong here? Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Everyone is a little bit. Like, you guys don't throw out that much food.
Yeah, my biggest issue here is one, communication, and two, throwing out food. You should have talked to your wife before buying this freezer and explaining why you were buying the freezer. And you should have said, look, I'm clearly not able to share this freezer with you. I'm going to buy my own freezer and I'm going to keep it in the basement. If that's all right with you, please don't touch it. And you should have gotten her to confirm that that's the way it was going to be. It sounds like your wife likes to, have a lot of food on hand, and it might make her feel more secure with having more food. And that's understandable. I mean, with prices rising and whatnot, I can understand someone going out and buying a bunch of food and keeping it on hand so that you can avoid some of the, large bumps in prices. So I can certainly understand where she's coming from here and why she would want to have a lot of food in stock, right? But she should also be talking to you, and you two should be working together because you're literally a team. And you two aren't acting like a team right now. You're acting like opponents, where the competition is who can have their own freezer the most, right? So this is just a huge problem because you two should be working together and not working against each other. And maybe, just maybe, the solution here is to buy a second large freezer chest so that you both can have a large freezer chest so that she can have some place to stash her extra groceries and the other freezer, and you can have some place to put your freezer. Or maybe even buy yourself a very small freezer so that there isn't a whole lot of room in there, right? So then she won't even be tempted to use your freezer. So I think that there are communication issues here, and I think that you two really need to sit down and work them out instead of, doing exactly what you're doing here. And especially a jerk for throwing away all that food. That's just completely uncalled for. I hate food waste, and this is just like, this was not even bad food. It was just that you didn't want to have it in your freezer.
You could have donated it.
Yeah, you could have donated that food. So, anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, your wife sounds like she has some issues. Maybe a food equivalent of a hoarder. Edit. OP, if you want to donate some of this excess food, there is an app called Olio. It's available in quite a few countries. Basically, you add listings for unwanted food and other items. People will request them and come along and collect them from you for free. I'm not sure if it's available in the US though. Maybe someone here can clarify. And OP says, I've tried suggesting this before. It did not blow over well. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I have a tea right here. Amber has a tea as well. It's a mint tea for her. What has wings, is out of its mind, and sits in trees? A raven lunatic. Oh no, that's terrible. And I have Mega Mint tea. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Happy Friday, Junior. I hope you're all having a great week so far. I hope things are winding down for you. Or if you're not at the end of your week, if things are going alright for you in your week. Thanks so much for watching. And if you like this video, consider giving me a like. And if you dislike this video, consider giving me a dislike. And I will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
We got to the event and they talked to Judy and were slowly warming up to them. Everything was going well till I was dinner time. I am sorry, OP, that you were eaten. It's a terrible fate. Poor OP has been eaten. End of story. Though I thought that was going differently.